So, welcome to the Sawdust Nation podcast, episode 159, with your host, Nap from Nap Sunday Works LLC, myself, Josh from North Country Woodworking, and Nick cannot be here today, but we have Cody from Cadence Manufacturing and Design. Welcome, my friend. It's finally happened. You're on the podcast, and we're excited to have you. So, let's go ahead and jump into what's in your shop, and we're going to give you some questions as well.
Yeah, sure. First of all, man, guys, thanks for having me on. I know, man, Nap, you and I, we've talked about this for how long? Like us actually getting together and visit. And so on, I'm just really honored to be here with you guys and just kind of visit and just invite you into my world and what I got going on. There's a ton of stuff going on. I feel like it never ends, man. It's just one thing after the next between doing all my CNC woodworking, doing all the laser work, all the production work. And then now, that I've taken over the production process for all my tools, I'm drinking from a fire hose, man. I'm still learning a lot. And it's super exciting and super scary all at the same time. But it has been just such an entire blessing in disguise. I don't know how else to describe it. So yeah, that's kind of what I got going on. Nap, as you guys know, I launched the Kickstarter campaign.
Yep.
Which was, man, that was a process. That was super challenging. And I'm still, even now, it's hard to work through all the Kickstarter stuff because the website's not very user-friendly. But as of this month, I've already sent out to all the beta testers out there. I've sent them all tools. As a matter of fact, Nap, I think I sent you some. So I think you participated in that as a beta bit tester. So if you haven't got your package yet, it should be there anytime soon.
Yeah, I kept getting the notification in my email. Hey, you need to do this. I'm like, what does this thing keep asking me to do? And it was like, I thought I already did this. So there's this funny thing. It's called the submit button.
Oh,
you should hit the submit button, and
okay.
then it submits your address and the things. And I'm like, oh, that's why it kept bothering me.
Well, thankfully,
it kept telling me to finish.
Thankfully, I already had your address, your shipping address, so we were good to go. I hope I shipped it to the right spot, anyways. But yeah. So I got all that stuff shipped out, and then I'm shipping out the very first of the downtown Jenny bits, and the Jenny bits are going out this month too. So the nice thing is everything's on schedule, even though it's just kind of become a logistical nightmare. I'm still pushing forward and chopping wood, and so that's what I'm currently doing right now. Just building my business, making sure I have stock, doing everything I can to be a part of the community and help where I can, and then still fulfill the obligations from the Kickstarter, which again, man, I can't thank everybody enough for being a part of that. I'm still in awe, the support that I saw. You guys are awesome.
Shit, it was funny. When you launched initially, right? You're like, okay, here we go. You launched it. Not even 2 hours in, goal reached. I was like, holy Nikes.
Yeah, it was nuts.
You say launch, Cody. It took off. It was like a rocket going to Mars, man. It went from, your goal, blew through your goal, and it's just a testament to the product and who you are as a maker. I mean, everyone knows how good your Jenny bits are, and we can't wait. Well, you are launching new ones. I can't wait to not test them out, but go ahead and grab some myself and start using them in Illinois.
Yeah, well, it's crazy because when the whole thing launched, I originally had the goal of 12,500, and that was just to help offset the shipping cost, just to get the machine in here. I was kind of talking with Josh a little bit earlier today, kind of just showing him the shop, and they quoted me over 18 grand just to get the machine here. That included all the riggers. That included, the freight. They had to have special freight air ride because it's all super precision, pieces and components. And then I was juggling 4 different companies. I had Inca and the technicians that I had to get their schedule to match the rigger's schedule, to match the truck driver's schedule, and then the electrician's schedule. It was crazy. And by the time we got it all together, it finally came together and it worked really well, but it was also really expensive. And And I'm so thankful that the community really kind of rallied behind me to help offset stuff like that. And like I was talking to you guys earlier, even the air compressor, I had an air compressor here. I thought we were good to go. That was an unexpected expense that came up. I had to go out and buy a brand new air compressor because the one I had wouldn't work, and it was because of the support from everybody in the community that I was able to just go in there and get what I need, get everything set up, and here we are now, So really, I don't think it's as much as a testimony of like what I've done or like the quality of the pits. I think it's more of a testimony of the maker community and how unique this community is. That's what I think is really special about all of it.
I thought it was funny because when you first started out with just the Jenny bit, because it didn't even have a name yet. It was just, here's my type of compression bit. But the thing about yours is yours was special because it was a different type of geometry that you had created, and then the community named it the Jenny. And I was like, how did that even come about? So like, was it just a vote for the Jenny, or was there a theme already being kind of put in place? Like, how did the whole name Jenny start with your company?
Okay, so this is actually a really cool story. So I've worked in aerospace and defense my entire adult career. Since I was a teenager, I started off as an aerospace welder, and then I got into machining and manufacturing. And for years, the shop that I worked at, there was always a running joke. And anytime somebody would say, hey, what part number are you working on? Without fail, somebody somewhere would say, oh, it's 8675309, right? So when I started developing my own tools and I launched that very first group buy on Facebook, I had to give the bit a part number. So naturally, I gave the bit that part number because it was just a running joke for years. It was like an inside thing. And when the CNC community saw the part number, 8675309, they immediately connected that with the song and Jenny from the song. And they started calling the bit Jenny because of that. So it's really neat because I haven't named a single tool that I've released. It has all been named by the community, So the Jenny name stuck, and then next thing you know, we have a whole Jenny line of bits. But the cool part, and I'm sure you guys might have even participated in it, but like every tool that I shared with the community after the very first one, I let the community submit names, and then everybody would vote on it, and then whatever had the most votes, that's what the next name of the next bit was. So it started with the Jenny, then the mini Jenny, then the skinny Jenny, and the groovy Jennies. It's all been organic, which has been just absolutely incredible. It's been so much fun, just involving the community from that perspective. I don't know. It's awesome. So in a nutshell, that's how the name came from the part number.
It's a pretty solid background about how it came about. I've got plenty of questions, I'm sure, for you. But Josh, you got any questions? I don't want to dominate the.
You don't want to dominate the CNC like old BWN.
I mean, listen, I'm cool with dominating the CNC like our buddy Daniel over PWN CNC, but in this case, this is an interview. Yeah. And, this is about Cody, but I don't want to take all of it.
Well, Cody, before we got on, I got to see your shop and, you kind of gave me a tour on your machines, what you have set up there. And let me tell you, it's very impressive. For the people listening out there, can you kind of go through like a verbal shop layout and what you have going on there so they can kind of understand this ain't no small scale. Like you have some massive equipment in there and like it's no joke. Like just your production line and stuff like that, so they understand like what you're working with in there.
Sure. So, well, it's funny because almost all of this stuff was in my 2-car garage at home before I actually had a shop.
Almost impossible. Right? I don't know how you did it.
And
yeah, I'm sure the wife is happy now. I mean,
oh man, so dude, my garage at home, I built a command center. There was it had AC in it. It was all enclosed within the garage, and then outside of there, I had, my CNC machines, and I had the laser inside the command center. And yeah, the garage was always a complete disaster. And I had actually considered, when my wife and I were really thinking and praying about getting this machine, I actually considered putting the Anka in my garage. And I think it would have been really cool for about a month.
Yeah.
Because I could have made it fit, right? But after hearing the tool changes and, hearing just the machine run all day, I think my wife would have got pretty annoyed pretty quickly. So thankfully, I have a friend of mine. His name is Scott, and for years we worked together at a place. It was called Klings Aerospace, which is now a line. I don't remember the name now, but anyways, for years, him and I worked together, and I had left that place, and I went my own way, working at some other shops, and him and his dad, they owned a machine tool company, and they used to build a machine called an Acrolock. And so they manufactured and built industrial CNC machines. And so I was always like, I don't know, I was always really close to him, and I was always ask questions because I was so fascinated about the whole CNC thing. And so we became friends. And, years ago, him and his dad, they had the company and they sold the company, but they kept a little shop where they had a couple CNC machines where they could, keep the dream alive, quote unquote. And his dad is older now, and his dad is, like in a senior home, and it got to a point where the shop was just a place where they kept the machines. And so he reached out to me a couple years ago, and he's like, "Hey, Cody, if you ever outgrow your garage, let me know because I have a home for you." And I'm like, "Yeah, right. I don't know that I'll ever outgrow my garage, and I have a command center, and it's awesome. I don't think I'll be going anywhere." And when time came for us to buy the Anka, to start making the Jenny bits, I needed a place. So I called him up and I was like, "Hey, Scott," I told him the whole thing, just laid everything out. And he's like, "I still have a place for you." So he let me move into the shop with him. And it's a 1,000 square foot shop here in Mesa, Arizona. We had to tear down all of his gigantic CNC machines and move all the machines out just to bring my stuff in. And I feel bad because now he has like 20% of the shop, and I've taken over like 80. But he just comes here and he tinkers, and he has his own little place. But just kind of give you, like, in your mind's eye, if you can imagine, when you first walk in my shop, it's, I don't know, like 30 feet wide by 50 feet long. And when you first come in, I have, my Shapeoko and my Onefinity all by, the big roll-up doors. Then I also have all my dust collection and all that stuff over there by the door, so I can keep all the dirty stuff over there. And then as you walk through the shop, probably about the middle, I have my Thunder Laser where I do a ton of laser work. Everything's on wheels because it's kind of a small space, but everything's on wheels so I can move stuff around and do production work and have the space that I need. And then the Anka, it takes up a pretty big footprint. Between the Ebco, I don't even know what you'd call it, the catch basin that gets all of the oil, the tank, between the tank and the actual machine and like the air compressor, it probably takes up 20% of the shop. So it takes up a pretty good space, but I think we've organized it pretty well, and just getting toolboxes in here and a lot of workspaces and just being modular and being able to move around. That's how we've really made it work. I don't know if I did a good job explaining the shop, but that's kind of, when you walk in, it's just long, skinny, and machines on right and left side of the shop all the way down.
I think you did a pretty good job with that.
Yeah.
It's hard to visualize something. A lot of people, I'm sure, don't understand that you have two CNC machines in there. You have a laser machine, you have the bit maker, if you will, and then on top of that, a portion for someone else to be working. And it's a pretty decent sized shop, and I think from seeing it, you've laid it out pretty efficiently. Economics of design, if you will.
Yeah.
And if you haven't actually gotten a chance to follow Cody at Cadence_MFG, I think it's like I had to refresh myself, but it's like the 6th post down He's actually got a picture of his shop. So if you're listening to this and you want to see what it actually looks like, you can take a look at it. And just as he says, it's a long, narrow shop, but you can definitely tell how organized it is. And actually looks like you can move around in it, unlike most shops that are out in the garage. I don't think you would have enjoyed having that big machine in your garage.
I know my wife would have hated it. But, you know, so it's a blessing and a cursing because I maxed out the electrical panel.
I get to see why.
So I don't even have, so I have no more power here. And I even worked with the electricians and they're like, dude, you're maxed. We can't even bring in another panel. Like there's no more room. So the blessing part of it is I can't really expand and get more equipment here, but it's also cursing because I can't expand and get more equipment here. So the nice thing about it is, you know, I can bring in little stuff here and there and I think I'll be okay. But in regards to having like bigger equipment, if the Lord just keeps blessing this business and I continue to grow, I'm going to have to move to another shop and get a bigger spot and get more power, which I'm not looking forward to because moving a shop is a pain. Matter of fact, I was just helping a friend of mine. He has 4 of these machines behind me. He's a tool manufacturer also. And when he said he was moving, I was like, dude, I'm in. I'm there to help. I don't care what you need done. I was like, I just want to learn these machines inside and out, you know? So I got to help him tear everything apart and actually move it from one location to the next and then help him, to the best of my ability, hook everything back up just so I could get the experience of it. So if I ever do move, I kind of know what to expect, and it's a bear. but we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
I'll tell you what, you need help moving, you give me well enough advance notice. See, you know, my family or my in-laws, they live 35 minutes from you.
It's true.
So my in-laws live in Glendale, and they had a business there called BC Tool Grinding, which since family things occurred, they had to sell their business and consolidate down to another business. But they still live in Glendale. So give me far enough notice, I can definitely bring the wife and children down, and maybe I'll come give you a hand.
Man, that would be so awesome. You know, even you should just come down anyways. Who cares if I'm moving or not?
That's going to happen eventually. I was eventually going to get to that. But you're not going to give like an excuse like, hey, honey. But no, I'm sure she would love to go to Arizona. She hasn't been home in a while. Her parents actually get here 2 weeks. Actually, they're coming to the Great North.
So it's actually been kind of cool. It's turning into a thing. Anybody who comes and visits me here at the shop, I put you to work.
There you go.
I'll give you carbide. I'll have you load the machine, and you get to run your own tool and take it home with you as kind of a souvenir. You get to make your own Jenny bit. So if you come down and visit, we'll have you make some of your own tools.
That'd be awesome. I might have a tag along because the family or the in-laws that was their business, their life was grinding tools. So I'm sure they would love to see some of that as well.
Yeah, I'm sure I could learn a lot from them too. So let's do it, man, for sure.
But we do have a question in here. Speaking of making bits and things, Ben Warren from Beach Time Woodworks asks in the YouTubes here, could you tell us about the material of the bits, which you said carbide, but I'm sure you can give a little more on that, and how long should they last, and understand their variable and understand there are variables, like he's saying there's variables to it. How do you compare to other bit manufacturers? So it's kind of like a 3-part.
No, actually, I think that's a completely valid and fair question. So with me working in the aerospace and defense industry for years, how I started making my own tools is we had to design a lot of our own custom tool geometry for our big CNC machines, right? We had a bunch of big 5-axis machines and lathes, and so we were constantly having to make our own tool geometry for custom parts that we were making, and that's how I kind of got my feet wet into doing what I'm doing now. And when I first started making my own tools, because I was outsourcing all of my tools before I had my machine, and I used the same exact grade and quality of carbide on our aerospace and defense parts I use that same material for my tools, for our Jenny bits. So it's really high quality carbide that's used in a lot of industries, a lot of aerospace and defense, not just like woodworking. So it's a good high quality carbide. When I'm compared to like other bit manufacturers, I think one thing I've done that's really unique is I'm coming from the maker community. I started designing and developing my own tools to solve rigidity issues on my belt-driven machines. So I started creating different tool geometry to manage those rigidity issues that I was experiencing. And so I've really kind of catered to the types of machines that everybody has in two-car garages, right? And I think what has happened with, the maker movement over like the last 10 years and everybody being able to manufacture stuff in their garages now. For years, everybody just bought end mills. Like you can buy an Amana end mill and it's a good bit, it's a high quality bit. Everybody knows of them, but they've always geared them towards big industrial machines, right? And for our machines, they worked too, but nobody really took the time to develop tool geometry specific for machines like ours. And so that's one thing that I've done that I think really sets me apart from everybody else is I'm designing them specifically for machines like ours to manage those rigidity issues. I'm using really high grade quality material. And then in regards to the longevity of the tools, obviously that's going to differ. If you dial in your feeds and speeds, one thing that I do with my tools is I put that gold coating on there, the zirconium nitride coating. What's really nice about the zirconium nitride is it has a really high lubricity value, and it helps evacuate the chips faster, right? So the more that you can manage heat in your process, the longer your tools are going to last, because heat's the number one thing that will break down the cutting edge on any carbide tool. I don't care the brand, I don't care the geometry. If you're burning up your bits, it's going to go dull and go bad on you, right? So if you dial in your feeds and speeds and you use like my bits with the coating that I'm using, it will give the tool life up to 3 times greater than an uncoated carbide tool. And coatings, not all coatings are made the same either. There are different coatings that when you put it on there, when you go through the process, it can actually hone down the cutting edge and make it not as sharp. And so what's nice about the zirconium nitride is when it builds up, it's only microns. And so because it's only microns, you're not deteriorating the cutting edge of your tools. They also stay super sharp. So I hope I answered that okay.
That was good. Yeah.
I think you nailed it, man.
I can definitely go ahead. As I say, I can attest to the way your bits operate. So I've had some, we'll call it less than what is it called? Less than optimal things happen during cuts. I've had some times where I didn't program something right and my bit has dove down deeper than I wanted it to, or things like that. And it's happened with Jenny a couple times, but even with that happening and getting a little burn on it, because, it went too deep, speeds weren't right, things like that, gave me a little something on the coating, but I was able to take some CMT orange, a blade and bit cleaner, clean it right off, and go right back after it. I mean, I'm running your Jenny bit. I mean, this is probably nothing for some folks. I'm considered the conservative one of these bits. But I've gone as crazy for me as a 1/4 inch in red oak, which is relatively hard at 150 inches per minute, and have done well with no bogging down, nothing, nice clean chips and all the things. So for me, that's good because I've been able to take my cuts that used to take 30-ish minutes, coupled with the Shapeoko, to the Onefinity with your bits and a nice spindle, right?
Yeah.
And I'm doing it like 6 to 8 minutes now, So I can definitely say that bits are awesome, and I'm not spending an arm and a leg to get that. So
I appreciate that. And the other thing too, when I started doing all this, like my mission, my goal in life was to create a high quality bit on a 2-car garage budget, right? Because I'm an end user of my own tools. Like, and it was, man, it was really painful spending $65 on a specific brand of tools, and then all of a sudden I drop it or I crash it into a clamp. And I mean, there's been times where I just total noob mistakes. Like I'm driving it around, I'm setting my XYZ 0, and I don't have it high enough in Z, and I drive it right through a clamp and break my 1/8 inch cutting tool. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. Like, so I know the pain. I know I've been there, and so I launched all of this at the start of COVID, and I haven't raised my prices since because I had a personal strong conviction. Like I really want to be a part of this community and provide a quality product that just it's not going to break the bank, So I haven't raised my prices for those reasons, and I'm an end user, and I don't want to spend $65 to buy my own tools. So
there you go.
Well, I can say I appreciate it because I have a bunch of your bits.
And just a testament to you
Josh.
being part of the community and whatnot. Now, I tagged you in a couple of reels here and there throughout my usage of your bits. And you take note. You actually take a look at these posts and like you comment like, hey, have you tried this? Hey, have you tried that? Maybe you should speed it up, go deeper. And I do recall one of the last conversations we had, we're talking about how much I could increase because me being the moderator when I file in between Nap and Nick when it comes to speeds and feeds and Death of Cup. And you're like, try this and try that. I'm like, you're going to make my X-Carve explode. And, I'm willing to I'm going to try some of your suggestions when it comes to those speeds and feeds. I just, it's going to take a while to get set up and I'm curious and I'm going to do a video because if it explodes, I want everyone to see. Just, but no, I honestly think if you've done your own testing, you know exactly what these bits can do. Nap and I are more conservative when it comes to our feeds and speeds because we're trying to prolong our actual CNC. But with your testing and being an end user, we know that, we can get to that. Especially with the equipment you're using is similar to the stuff we're using. Nap's a little further when he's using the Onefinity. But I'm comfortable trying those speeds because I know that you're part of the community in the sense that you've tested on the similar machine as mine. And that alone speaks volumes.
all I got to say is send it.
I'm going to.
Just send it.
Send it. Oh, man. Well,
what's the highest you've run your bits?
Yeah.
Curious. Have you tried to make machine explode?
You guys, I'm actually kind of embarrassed. Like, I'm so broken from running belt-driven machines. I don't even like pushing my bits super hard. I know it can do it. Like, people send me videos all the time. They're like, "Oh, I'm doing full depth of cut, 400 inches a minute."
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, "You, sir,
oh my
crazy."
God.
And belt-driven.
Yeah. So, no, not on the belt-driven. These are, bigger, more rigid machines. But still, I'm just like, I don't know. I think I'm broken because of that. I mean, typically, on average, I'm around 150, 200 inches a minute, depending on what I'm doing. So it's about middle of the road. When I'm on my belt-driven machines, I'm between like 80 and 100. So
okay, now we're getting something I can actually achieve.
Okay.
Yeah. 140 to 150. My God, I already see the smoke.
Oh man, I really think your machine will do it, dude.
You know what? Everything can do something once, so we'll give it a go.
We'll do it once, and then you're going to see your Z-axis just...
You know what? It would give me a perfect excuse to go ahead and maybe get another CNC.
If you break a bit, I'll buy you a new one. How does that make you feel?
I appreciate that. You know what? I have a feeling you know someone that makes them, so...
I'll have my people talk to your people.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Well, so funny thing is, we joke, right? But a while back, I had a misfortune with one of my bits, and it was my Slim Jenny took a dive into a probe. So what had happened was when you put the magnet on the collet to do the touch off, the magnet should be all the way attached, not partially. So when you're looking at it and you're moving something out of the way and the magnet falls off and it just takes a dive into the bit setter and snaps it right in half. And you go, no, Jenny, no. And, you let Cody know.
That's his title. This is episode. Oh, Jenny, no. Write that down.
But from all the support we've given each other back and forth, Cody was cool enough to be like, hey, you know what? I feel really bad about that. let me help you out. So he ended up sending me a bit, and I much appreciate that. And she's still going strong. I'll tell you what. I'm still afraid to run that bit in particular really rough, though, because skinny bits, they don't take as much of a beating as a 1/4-inch bit.
Well, I mean, 1/8-inch tooling in general, like carbide doesn't flex. Dude, if you have tool deflection, it's going to break, especially on 1/8-inch diameter tooling. You just gotta pay attention to it and just kind of listen to it and see how it feels and, get a good idea of how she's doing. Cause I get nervous with 1/8-inch diameter tools also.
The one suggestion or the one thing I like to see from your bit collection here is longer bits, just because for thicker cutting materials. I know I've mentioned that before. And I don't mean to call you out on here, but for me, like I use the CNC a lot for cutting out stuff, and then I throw it on the laser or I process it off, and like your bits are amazing. But the thing is I don't have that much. Like if I'm doing something really thick, it gets a little hairy sometimes, and I have to sit there and watch it. Is that something that may happen in the future, or is it just calculated in such a way where it's not possible?
Nope, it's already in the works. I actually have one right here.
Ooh, nice and long.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, Nap. We don't have a name for it yet, so I don't know. Maybe it'll be the long leg Jenny. I don't know, but I actually think I sent you one, Nap.
Heck yeah.
But so this tool in particular, what I did that's unique about it is you can cut up to 2 inches, 2-inch thick material with this tool. So there's other companies that make 1/4-inch tooling that has like 2-inch flute length, which is awesome. But I try to build as much rigidity into my tools because of our machines, right? Like that's kind of my whole MO. So on this tool, what I did specifically is I gave it 1.5 inch flute length, and then I relieved the shank back so you can go down to like 2 inches, 60 thousandths depth of cut. And because it's an upcut bit, you can still have really good chip evacuation, but you have all that rigidity because, I don't know if you can see it, but you're not losing all that meat going 2 inches down with the flute length, right? So I made a bunch of these. I sent them out. I did a bunch of testing here. I wish I could show you in person, but I cut a 2-inch diameter hole, 2 inches deep. I was doing 150 thousandths depth of cut at, I think I was about 85 inches a minute. And I think I was at 13,000 RPM.
Wow.
And there's no chatter. It is super, super smooth. I did share a small video of it on Facebook, and I think I did on my Instagram too. But I was really, really pleased with the results of it. And then the nice thing is too, we're talking about like, of course I test my tools, but I send all my tools out and I have the community test them, right? So it's not just me, it's several people giving input, giving feedback, and getting real world data that I put into designing these. And I think this is going to be a game changer. I really do. I think it's going to be great. So I'm excited for it. Hopefully I can be launching this one in the next couple weeks. But I want to hear more back from the beta testers before I launch it. So it's just on hold. I'm waiting to hear back from you guys.
Oh, look at that. I can't wait to see that on your shop.
That and the drill mill, that's something I'm super excited for. I think that's one of the ones on the level for the Kickstarter that I put in for, and that's something I'm looking into because inserts are cool and everything, but if I can do, holes and things like that with the drill mill and whatnot, are you going to do like a threaded mill or anything like that later down the road?
So I've talked to a couple people about making some thread mills, because you can make a single point thread mill. I don't think I'm tooled up for it. I have to invest into other equipment in order to do it. So as of right now, I won't be able to do like a single point thread mill, but it is possible. This machine can do reamers, drill bits, end mills, router bits. I mean, it's a legit machine. It makes all kinds of stuff. I'm the biggest limiting factor, right? Because of I'm learning this as I go. But in regards to like the drill mill, what's really nice about the drill mill, it's basically an end mill that has a drill face, so you can drill holes with it, like a regular drill, but you can also side mill with it and you can chamfer with it. So that's what's kind of cool about the drill mills.
Yeah, all the possibilities, right?
So, you ever see those memes where the guy takes out his card and he just kind of like, flaps it and it's like, take all my money? Well, you got it, man. Take all my money.
So the goal is to make 1/8-inch drill mills and 1/4-inch drill mills. I just need some time for it. So
for folks out there listening, and we talk about drill mills and end mills, right? So there's certain cutting profiles and programs like Vectric and Carfco and those things, and there's a drilling toolpath that there is. I can tell you that if you use an end mill during a drilling toolpath, it does not do what you want it to do. Talk about smoke and stuff flying everywhere. I tried it once. Didn't work out so hot.
I mean, you could do it.
So I can say when you try to do it, you could. It just would not give you the desired result. But that cuts down, production time. So I'm making, a new wasteboard coming up once I get the drill mill, because that's what I'm actually going to use it to test, is making my new wasteboard. It's going to cut down the amount of time for the holes that I need to put in my wasteboard, unlike doing the end mill piece. Because the end mill, it took me like damn near an hour and a half to, do my wasteboard. Drill mill is just boom, not this.
Yeah, because you got to go in, and your bit's got to be smaller than your hole, right? So you don't burn it up. And then you got to circle interpolate it, and then go down another 150 thousandths, circle interpolate it. So, it'll take you 10 times as long to do that versus a drill mill. I mean, it's like drilling a hole on a drill press, but on your CNC.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So what is your favorite bit? Like, which one is the one you enjoyed the most making?
So I'm going to have to go with the original Jenny bit.
I had a feeling.
Compression tool geometry, it's so crazy looking. Because you have your upcut, you have your downcut, you have all that stuff that's going into it. But it's also complicated and it's more of a headache to run and to set up. I think a close number 2 would just be the straight downtown Jenny. The downshear bits, those are pretty cool. I just really like the way they look. They look awesome.
What about your groovy Jenny in those? Now, I know you were you kind of shocked the world with that tool geometry because, well, no one ever made one. So what inspired that exactly? Because V-bits are V-bits, but you were like, no, let me go ahead and make this type of V-bit.
Simple. It was the community. It was people are having problems with Ormask.
Yes.
With Ormask lifting all the time. And I was like, well, why don't we just make a downshear V-bit? And nobody did it. And so I just did it. I played with it, came up with the tool geometry. I still have those made. I don't have the capability to make those yet because they're 3/8 diameter. A lot of times on these machines, they're great for, you'll have your 1/4-inch collet and you can make a 1/4-inch tool. Well, that tool, it's a 3/8 diameter tool on a 1/4-inch shank. So there's a process of, grinding down the shank, which I can't really do on this machine. I mean, you can, but it's not really set up for it. So I'm still working with local grind shops here in Phoenix that are helping me with my downshear V-bits. So I don't know. Eventually I need to bring everything in house. Like that's the ultimate end goal, right? So I can make all my own stuff and have control over the production process. Because I hate being out of stock. And the biggest problem that I'd run into is, so I'm designing and developing all these custom tool geometry, right? Well, guess what? So is Northrop Grumman. So is GE. So is Honeywell. So are all these other big companies out there, and I'm the smallest fish in the pond. So when I go to these tool guys and I'm like, hey, I need to get some tools made, they're like, oh, all right, we'll send it to you in 8 weeks. I'm like, I need them like next week. I can't go 8 weeks.
Yeah.
And that's part of the reason why I decided to buy this machine, is just because I needed to take over the production process to get better lead times, to have more opportunities to do more custom tool development for the community. I mean, it just made sense across the board. Like, all roads led to me buying my own equipment.
It's a smart investment for you. I mean, like, obviously you have a product that people want. You're part of the community. You're doing well when it comes to the sales of it. Any business, when they grow, eventually pulls into themselves and starts making their own stuff, because that's what you need to do. So with you trying to pull everything back into the shop, are you going to need another one of those machines, or can you retrofit it? What's going to be the process for you to pull everything back?
I would probably need more equipment down the road. So this machine specifically, I spec'd out this machine because of the automation capabilities. Mm-hmm. So the nice thing is it's completely automated. It's got the robotic arm, it's got the pallet. So I can load up a program, say the Jenny Bits, right? I can load up to 192 tools at a time and just hit go and let the machine run. And it's nice because the machine, I invested into the laser inspection equipment. So it measures and monitors every single tool that's being manufactured, and will make automatic wheel offset adjustments to maintain the tolerances throughout the production line. So when you see the videos of like the robotic arm moving, that's all of that like working together. So there's the laser, there's the headstock, there's the grinding wheels, the wheel packs, the arm, completely automated. It's still a bear. I mean, it's very finicky and it's easy to alarm out, right? I was sharing with you, Josh, the machine needs to be temperature controlled because they are linear motors. Mm-hmm. They're electromagnetic motors, and it creates a lot of heat. So the same coolant that's being shot through all the nozzles when you're grinding is actually being ran through a chiller to cool down the motors during the production run. So with that being said, I have to also make sure that the ambient temperature on the outside of the machine is relatively close, because I'm holding such tight tolerances. Thermal expansion and contraction can actually affect the tolerances during production. So it's set up, and I have it programmed to where it's inspecting every single tool as it's manufacturing them. If there are 3 tools that go outside, because there's like the nominal number that I run to, and then using SPC tooling, which is your statistical data and processing, I set my upper and lower limits for manufacturing, and I have my run to numbers, and then outside of that, I have the out of tolerance numbers. And if for some reason a tool goes out of tolerance, if it sees 3 of those in a row, the entire machine will alarm out and stop. It'll just stop running and say something's wrong. Or if it's making a ton of wheel offset adjustments because the ambient temperature is too hot, and so it's constantly making moves, it'll alarm out and say something's wrong. So there's a lot of redundancies that's built in into maintaining the quality of the tools. But at the same time, I have to do a really good job making sure I'm keeping up on the PM, making sure that the temperature and the oil is good and clean, and the filters are being changed out. So all that to be said, it's a huge process, and this machine does really well for what I'm currently doing, right? Even though I'm outsourcing, say, like the V-bits, that's okay because I'm bringing in 80% of everything else, right? So it's still a good ratio. It's easier for me to manage the stuff that I am outsourcing. But the majority of it, bringing in-house. Eventually, I do want to go 100%, which means I will need more equipment down the road. But I'm not there yet, so we'll see.
I'll give you a couple of years.
Like I said, just keep chopping wood.
So from cradle to grave right now, so obviously, you started off doing this as like a side thing. You outsourced a lot. You got your machine. You went to Michigan. You learned how to use the machine. how much really, like, learning curve is steep, I would imagine. Okay. But taking the knowledge you had from what you did before you did this full time and running CNCs and these things, how long would you say it came, and I'm sure you're still learning, but how long would you say it took you to really get proficient with what you're currently doing now?
I'm a huge advocate for continual improvement, right? So there's always stuff that you can continually be doing to better yourself, to better the process. Yeah, bless you. So I don't think that will ever end. From my perspective, kind of growing up in the manufacturing environment and, starting off as a welder at 17 years old and, being in that environment has been a huge blessing to what I'm doing today. It's like, I literally feel like God allowed all these things to happen that brought me to where I'm at now, and so running machines, setting up machines, for years and years, I was a quality engineer and I implemented quality systems, right? And so in doing the quality systems and building these processes, I had to know the entire process from cradle to grave, like you were saying. So I had to have a really good understanding of from the request for quote to manufacturing and doing in-process inspection to shipping it out the door. I was involved in every single aspect. So venturing out and starting my own business and doing this, I use a lot of those same tools that I was using for years to do what I do now. And that included having the experience of being in the trenches and running the machines and working in inspection. So it's definitely been extremely helpful, which I think has, I would say, expedite the learning process just because I already had a good understanding of manufacturing. Yeah. Well, and so here's the cool thing, right? You guys are running CNC machines. A work origin is a work origin, regardless if you're doing it on your Onefinity or if you're doing it on this. If you have a good understanding of where your material is and what your tool is doing, that solves a lot of the problems, right? Like, you just need to know what the machine's doing and what it's going to do and just have that foundation. And that's been critical for me. So the machine got here, what was it, the middle of April? So I've had the machine on the floor since the middle of April. And then it took about 2 weeks to get the electricians, to get everything hooked up and then to get it, leveled and the technicians. So I would say since May, I've been running it. And since the moment that we turned it on, I've been making tools.
There you go.
So it all played together. Going to Michigan for an entire week of training, that was huge. To be honest with you, I probably should have spent at least 2 weeks there because there is so much. There is so much to take in. But Inca is really good on their support. Anytime I have a question, I can literally get on with their application engineer and we'll do everything over the phone or video chat or whatever, so they've been extremely helpful. And then other people in the industry here in the Valley, they all know the story. They know the Jenny story, and they are just blown away with my family and I having the courage to literally quit everything and to do this. Like, they've really come alongside me too, and have been helping me, So working with other machine shop owners who manufacture tools, that has been a tremendous help as well. Especially when it comes to like the programming, there's a lady named Heather. She's been super instrumental in helping me get everything programmed and making sure everything's sound and make sure I don't crash the machine, which sucks.
You can only imagine.
I actually crashed the machine.
I was going to ask, have you crashed it once yet? Oh, he had it ready. He's like, hello.
So it sits on my desk as a reminder.
There you go.
Not to crash the machine.
I take it the big old...
Yeah, you can see them broke.
Oh, wow.
This is a wheel pack, right? This arbor holds all the grinding wheels, and it can hold up to 4 different grinding wheels. This one, it's a 4-inch wheel on here, and it does all the fluting. And in the machine, I have another wheel that's a 5-inch diameter wheel that has a 20-degree taper on it. And it does different features. It's, specific to the tool geometry. And I was working on a tool, and I had this wheel in the front, and then I had the 5-inch wheel in the back. And I was coming in to grind off more relief, more clearance on one of the tools. And the tool was sticking out slightly farther than the spacer I had in between. And so the tool came in, and the end of the tool kissed the grinding wheel, and it exploded the grinding wheel in the machine. And I almost had a heart attack.
I can imagine.
Yeah, it was about 3 weeks after the machine was here, and I was like, no, I crashed the machine.
Inca, no!
Oh, gosh, it was so horrible. But thankfully, and I thank God every day for this, like, if you were to crash the machine, this was the best way to crash the machine. So the way that machine works, it has a C-axis that can wrap all the way around the tool. So you can do like your upcut geometry or your downcut geometry, depending on where the flutes need to be. And so if you can imagine my grinding wheel, it was perpendicular to the door. And so when the tool came in and it exploded, the grinding wheel went to the back of the machine, and the other half went to the door. So it didn't hit the headstock. It didn't hit the robot. It didn't hit anything inside the machine. It didn't damage anything. So I got really, really lucky, because that would have been a super expensive mistake. It still cost. Well, and the bad thing is I only had enough wheels to do like one job at a time, and I didn't have any redundancy. And so earlier that week, I actually doubled up on all my wheels because I wanted to have dual wheel packs. So if one wheel pack needed to be dressed, I could still keep up on production. And it was like an 8-week lead time to get the wheels made. And it cost me like $6,000 to get all new grinding wheels.
Man.
I'm just like, oh. But now I have duplicate of everything. So at least I'm sitting a little bit better, and the machine's not broken, and I'm making
lessons learned, man.
I can tell you. And I'm sitting here thinking like, oh yeah, I messed up on the saw stop once, $200. Oh, you know,
dropping the bucket when it comes to that machine.
And man, everything that I did wrong, like I knew better. You know, it's like when I'm doing the post-mortem, review of what happened, it's like, man, I knew I should have did this, but I didn't. I should have done that, and I didn't. And I just, lessons learned, man.
That's how most error chains happen, is you do something and you're not supposed to do that, and then something else happens, and then unfortunately, something major happens. You got lucky, you learned your lesson, and I guarantee you'll never do it again.
Hopefully. You never know. I mean, crashes happen all the time in these machines. Like it's just a part of the game. Like it happens, but I don't ever want to see it again.
That's fair.
So,
that's what happens when you just send it sometimes, You're like, oh, I'm going to do this.
Just send it, dude.
Works. You're like, oh God.
We've all done it. Every single one of us. So I have one of my final questions for you is if you have any advice for anyone out there when it comes to, quitting the job and going full time. What do you advise? I mean, like, it's something that we ask almost every person that comes on here that's gone full time, because everyone does it for a different reason, has different insight. I feel that your insight's a little different than most, because most people we have on here are, woodworkers, and they're doing, they're actually in the shop producing wood products. This is a completely different realm. You're literally like an inventor. So with that being said, what's your biggest piece of advice for someone that wants to break apart from the pack, start something completely new, and, quit everything and just dive all in?
I can tell you what was important for me, right? As I was kind of doing this journey, because everybody's going to be different. So for me, obviously, my faith had a big part of it, and just what I believe personally. I think it's important to give credit where credit's due, and I truly believe that God has been blessing us from the very get-go, number one. Number two, man, if you're married, you guys got to be on the same page. If my wife and if we weren't on the same page, I wouldn't be having this conversation with you right now, because it is so important making these types of life-changing decisions that if you're not in it together 100%, it's probably going to fail, So I would highly recommend that if you're doing this, make sure your spouse is on board. And honestly, like I've always been more risk adverse, you know, just because of what I did in my past job. And really, it was my wife that was pushing me. She's like, do it. She's like, quit your job. I'm like, I can't quit my job. It pays good and it's stable, and I will always have a job. But man, we burned the ships, and there's no turning back. So it's just having the courage to do that. I think it's important to pray about it and make sure your wife's on board. And those have been kind of the flagship like pillars that really kind of got me to where I'm at now. Because it's scary. It's scary quitting your entire career to jump into something like this and just go all out. But it's exciting, and I have zero regrets. So
some solid advice, man. Nap, you got a final question for them?
Honestly, I've asked him so many questions, and I've got so many more, but a lot of it's behind like different toolings and how we use them and whatnot. And I'm sure as Cody progresses down the road of doing this full time, expanding his capability and whatnot, I'm sure we'll have him on again, in the future to maybe see where he's at and whatnot.
Let's call this part one.
Yeah,
then.
part one for sure. Because I know Cody, he says he's risk adverse, but he took the plunge. He's killing it in making these CNC bits or tooling. We'll just say tooling in general. And people are loving it. And I can guarantee you that the community is going to inspire him to do more. And then it's just the continuous support is going to keep flowing in because, like you said, you make it for the community. And I think that's one thing that a lot of us enjoy about what you do is it's for the community. So I'm looking forward to your continued success and maybe helping and being a small, very small part of that success because that's honestly very rewarding. I think even for myself and Josh, just doing the little things that can help out in the most monumentous ways that'll help continue your journey. So
yeah,
look forward to having you on again for sure.
If it's okay, I just, thinking more about your question about the advice side of it. I'd like to add to that just one more.
The show is yours, man.
Before we came on, like Josh and I, we were just kind of chatting over the phone, and we were just kind of going over the logistics of, getting on and doing mic checks or whatever. And we were really kind of talking about the community. And I think another really key element that's led to the success in all of this is really not being afraid to be a part of the community. And because really, like, all of this exists because of the community, right? So if you're going out there and you're like starting a business, and some people might look at this as horrible advice, but like for me, I threw it all out there. I'm like, guys, this is, what I'm doing, and I'm helping other tool manufacturers and I'm helping other people. And by having that sense of community has really, I think, catapulted this. So don't be afraid to work with other people. Don't be afraid to work with other peers. You're going to learn stuff. You're going to help other people. They're going to be helping you too. And it all comes back full circle. And that's actually part of the reason why I was so excited to come on and visit with you, is because of the community part of all of this. It's really community over competition. I know that's cliche, but it's real. It's true, and I love it. And I love being here and being a part of it, and I'm honored to do so. So again, thank you guys. I really appreciate it. It's been awesome.
Well, it's definitely a pleasure having you on. And on that, Josh, what do you say we wrap this thing
up? Wrap it up like prom night. Nick's not here. I got to do something.
You're not Nick. You can't do that. But yeah, so typically, we give some final words. You gave a lot of good advice, Cody, but because you're the guest on our show, final words for those folks out there listening.
Man, thank you guys for everything. It's without you, I wouldn't be here.
All right. And my final words, man, I was like, I gotta lie, I was taking a small nap. Nap was napping before he got on. But what I can say is keep helping each other, folks, because it only is what makes the community stronger. And by the way, help yourself by taking a nap once in a while, because sometimes you need that refresher. We all have those long days, but not just at regular real work, but also in our hobbies or keep taking care of yourself so you can help take care of others. Other than that, that's what I've got. Josh, final words on you, boss.
Thank you, everyone, for listening to the 159th episode. Thank you, Cody, for jumping on here. And you should check out Cody. He has a website and he has Instagram and Facebook. On Instagram, you can check him up at cadence_MFG. And then for his actual website, you can hit him up at cadencemfgdesign.com. And that's where you can buy his bits. And I suggest you do that today because I'm telling you what, you're not going to regret it. So with that, hopefully you get time to go in your shop, go make some sawdust with some Jenny bits. And with that, Sawdust Station Podcast out. Oh, no, Jenny.
Oh, no, Johnny, no!
There it is.